yearning for other lives to come. I'm yearning for other lives to come.
Dumelang Khanya Lisedi Takozani. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the the one-on-one sessions with Gogo. I'm sorry, and I'm your host Gogo. Give you guys tips, lessons, and teachings on everything spirituality. Okay, so now I want us to talk about dreams of snakes in regards to the ancestors that you have, right? So this is not gonna resonate for everybody, obviously, but in most cases, when you have dreams where as you're seeing this particular snakes in your dream, then it basically refers to this particular ancestor. So I'm gonna be going into details about this particular thing. I actually talked about 5 different types of snakes that you will see in your dreams, and these are the most common the most common snakes that you'll dream of when you have certain ancestors or certain spiritual gifts, right? So with this, right, like I said, in your dream, like I've said before in dream translation videos, one thing that I want you guys to understand is that in every single dream that you have, pay attention to the environment, pay attention to your emotions, and pay attention to other occurrences within this particular dream. That is actually going to help you a lot in terms of translating this dream in the manner that it's supposed to be translated, right? So the first snake that we're going to talk about, or the first type of snake that you may be dreaming about that we're going to talk about, is a black snake, right? So a black snake often represents an Nzuza spirit. I know some people are excited to hear this. I've seen how you guys are just all over the place with this, but yeah, it's usually very big when it represents the spirit, like it's humongous in most cases, right? But a small snake can appear, a small black snake can appear and still mean the same thing, right? But like I said, this will not be the same for every single person, but this is the one of the major reasons, right? So this is a spirit, or rather an ancestor, which is very like a masculine energy in most cases. It's a male energy, but masculine energy basically doesn't have to be gender or anything like that, but masculine energy first of all. Secondly, it is a very strict spirit. So when you know, like when you have dreams where as you're seeing a black snake, know that this is a very strict spirit. This is a very strict ancestor, right? And secondly, it is very hard. So when you do things the wrong way for them, trust me, you're gonna get you're gonna get punished like a motherfucker. Anyways, that is the type of spirit that it is. Secondly, it may represent an angry ancestor. So sometimes when you're having a dream whereas you're seeing a black snake, it can indicate that the spirit or rather ancestor that is visiting you at this particular point in time, it is very upset, man. Maybe there are certain things that you have not done for the ancestors. Maybe there are certain things that they've been asking you to do for them, but you were not doing them, man. So this is whereas this particular ancestor is coming in the form of a black snake to show you that it is pissed, right? And even in the dream, like I said, pay attention to the occurrences and also the environment. This is whereas the environment will not be a suitable environment. It will be a very shady environment, like basically maybe a dark space, a place that you feel, okay, this is not a safe space. And Lorna, this particular snake, when you see it in your dream, you find that it is attacking you, it is fighting you, it is chasing you. That is a sign that the ancestor that is there, it is pissed off. And it is that, like, it is on the urge of actually just kicking you to the curb, basically, right? Thirdly, the spirit brought into the home for ukutwala for bungaka. So this could be a spirit that is brought into the home for utwala, right? So we all know what utwala is. This is where as you take like a spirit, an outside spirit, into your home to actually get wealth or power, because people actually twala for different reasons, right? Some people twala so they can have a spiritual gift, which is a fake spiritual gift basically, while others twala for riches, for wealth and whatnot. So automatically when you do that, right, this is something that is going to follow your entire generation. This is an entity that is going to come through in every single generation, that is going to affect every single generation. And yes, it has its different outcomes, whereas everyone in the family, you might find that for certain number of generations there'll be poverty, there'll be certain passings in the family at a specific age. Maybe the men pass away at a specific age, or the women, you find that some of them, they can conceive children, or others, they are not able to get married because of the entity that is there. So sometimes when you dream of a black snake, that is whereas the snake that is there is a snake that actually represents the negative spirit that has been taken from somewhere and brought into the home for selfish reasons, basically, right? And I actually mentioned that in this it could be mundawa buka, right? So mundawa buka is very similar to what I spoke about in a previous video, where I spoke about in is tunyo samdawe or is tunyo sandi. Well, this is whereas this is a foreign spirit. It is not a spirit from the family. Understand that it is a foreign spirit, but it was brought into the home for malicious reasons. It wasn't brought into the home for good things. Whereas I spoke about that one is tunyo samdawe as a spirit that chooses this family because it's like, you know what, you guys may have accepted me and whatnot, or a spirit that chooses the family because maybe the death of this particular person was in the hands of someone in the family, and at the end of the day this person comes and says, I'm going to initiate for this. But this one's a different thing because Ndawo Puka is a Ndawo that was collected from a particular place and brought into the home for malicious purposes, mainly for bungaka, for a spiritual gift that is not even there in the family, right? So at the end of the day, the person who conjured this spirit, this person will be able to use the gift however they want under certain conditions. But once this person passes away, it can actually turn against the family and affect the family in a negative manner. Because understand that Wotwala is done in different ways. Yes, some rituals are done in the river, some rituals are done in certain places, but in most cases what people do, especially when they twala to actually get a spiritual gift that does not belong to the family, this is whereas they use the cemetery or rather grave of someone who had a spiritual gift, they collect that spirit unwillingly and put it in the family so they can use that. So the spirit itself is an angry spirit, is a negative spirit on its own because it was taken from its rightful peaceful place and put into a home with darkness, with dark energy, with dark magic, basically, right? So right? And like I said, it is a negative spirit. And other times, as opposed to this being someone who was collected from the cemetery, you could find that this someone who was killed by another person to twala with this person's spirit. So we talked about Wutwebula and whatnot, and when we talked about Wutwebula, I did mention that Wutwebula is a process whereas a person is killed and their spirit is used for certain purposes, which some of them would be for the spiritual gift that this person has, right? So automatically that is also Wutwala in a sense. So automatically that spirit, it can be used to a certain extent, but after that it will then retaliate, and when it retaliates, it becomes this. And that is whereas you might have dreams whereas you're seeing a black snake, whereas it doesn't represent your ancestors, but it represents a foreign ancestor, the ancestor that was brought into the home for full Wutwala or full rituals like Wutwala in a sense, right? And another thing about dreaming about a black snake, it can also be a foreign spirit from an unknown tomb conjured to work for the person who twilight. Okay, I just said that. But most of the times with this one, right, where the person is conjured from an unknown tomb, this is whereas you find that they collected that spirit for wealth purposes, right? Because you know that Wutwala, like I said, there are different rituals about it, but most people, they do it for wealth reasons. And most of the time you find that these people are asked to do some really weird things at the cemetery. Maybe they leave an object there and then collect it and do certain rituals with it afterwards, while other times they actually apply certain heads and then sleep there for the night so their spirit can come into them. This is a spirit that they do not know of. This is whereas the cemetery or the person whose grave they use is someone that they do not know of. But given the fact that this is something is assisted by certain healers or certain sangomas, you'd find that this person has knowledge, or rather through their divination methods, they are able to know that, okay, this is a cemetery of someone who was spiritually gifted, but Lorna, if the person in that known tomb was not spiritually gifted, for the main purpose that they are taking that spirit can still is connected to the spiritual realm, obviously, so it can actually help you in terms of the wealth or the spiritual gift that you want per se, right? Number 6, number 5, number 5, it could be Mdawe spirit in general, and it usually works with the Mguni. So sometimes when you have a dream where as you're seeing a negative, like a black snake, it can basically just be your Mdawe spirit, but most of the times with Mdawe spirit, the snake might not be as big as the one that you see when it's associated with your Mzunza spirit. So this type of Mdawe spirit is a Mdawe spirit that most of the times works with the Mguni. So sometimes if you find yourself having constant dreams of a black snake, you'd find that you have Mdawe, which is working hand in hand with the Mnguni spirit, and this is the ancestor that is visiting you at that particular moment in time. Yes, they might come there with messages or warnings and whatnot, but that will depend mainly on what is happening in the dream, what occurrences are there, and also your emotions and what comes to your mind in that dream as well, and also immediately when you wake up. Pay attention to those things, right? And lastly, it's an ancestor that requires cleansing. So I've spoken about ancestors that are in the dark. I also spoken about negative ancestors. But all in all, sometimes when you have dreams about a black snake, whereas in this particular dream, the snake does appear to not be in good terms with you. It is an ancestor. It needs to be cleansed. This is an ancestor that needs to be put into the light. And there are many reasons for that. First of all, the person may have passed away at the wrong time. Maybe this person was supposed to live a very long time. Maybe this person was killed, or maybe this person was basically killed physically, or killed using muti for many different reasons. So this is an ancestor that needs cleansing in most cases. Even if it's not an ancestor who was killed, it could be an ancestor who was not able to appease their ancestors when they were born, or do practices for their gift, or an ancestor who all in all rejected their spiritual journey. So there's an ancestor that will come to you in the form of a black snake, right? The second snake that we're going to talk about, it's a green snake, right? So for those people that have dreams whereas they're seeing a green snake, most of the time that represents the Mnguni spirit itself. It is the Mnguni spirit. For those of you guys that may be a bit confused about what Mnguni spirit is, Mnguni spirit is spirit sabongaka. It is the gift that comes with malopo, the traditional sangoma dance, and it's also the gift that comes with divination through divine bones, basically, right? So it can represent a Mnguni spirit. Secondly, it can be an ancestor of wealth and abundance. So green is a very distinctive color that represents abundance and wealth, right? So sometimes you find that your ancestors, you may not even have a spiritual gift, but obviously every single person has his or her ancestors. So your ancestors can still come to you and reveal themselves to you in a certain way. So sometimes they can come to you and reveal themselves in the form of these dreams, whereas you're seeing the snake, and this particular snake could be green to actually show you that this is the ancestor of abundance and wealth, right? So how the spirit, or rather the snake, is behaving in that dream will also indicate as to whether this ancestor is happy or mad, right? And whereas they're happy, this is whereas it's reassurance that there are gonna be doors that are opening in your life. There's gonna be abundance. There's gonna be a certain amount of wealth that you're going to receive from this particular spirit, right? But if this ancestor, or rather this snake, is appearing to be very aggressive, very mad, then this is whereas they're indicating that there's gonna be a lot of financial blockages for you and your family, whereas there are certain things that are required to be done for this particular ancestor to actually give you or open doors for the abundance and the blessings that they have for you, right? And lastly, it can also indicate that your gift is closely connected to water. So this is whereas the green snake on its own can also indicate that you have an ancestor that is connected with water. You have an ancestor that may have used a water spirit, maybe Mdawe spirit, because that is mainly the most common water spirit that people have, or a prophetic spirit that required a lot of use of water. So that can also be the indication. That is why when you check about your ancestors, especially when you have dreams, be sure to ask about this particular dreams. Maybe if you're having dreams of a certain snake, or you had a dream about a certain snake, ask the Sangoma as to which kind of spirit this is. What is the purpose of the spirit, and why did they come to me in this particular dream? That way you'll be able to identify the kind of spirit that is governing you, and you'll be able to identify what it is that they want from you, or what messages they have for you per se, right? Number 3, when you have a dream of a white or a yellow snake, or a snake that has both white and yellow, this is a prophetic ancestor. So yellow is closely related with the prophetic gifts. That is one thing that I can say, right? That is why with people with prophetic gifts, not all of them, but most of them, I would advise them to use a yellow candle on a regular basis, sometimes in a purple candle, depending on what their ancestors want. But yellow is a prophetic color per se, right? So it can indicate that the ancestor that is visiting you is a prophetic ancestor. That is the first thing. Secondly, it can indicate spirits that use water to divine and heal. So that is also a type of prophetic gift, name. But it can also be more direct, as opposed to saying it's a prophetic gift and not telling you what type of prophetic gift it is. It can actually be that dream that shows you that the prophetic ancestor that is here, that is present, or that is visited you, is a prophetic ancestor that uses water on a regular basis to heal and to help people, meaning that they are guiding you as to how it is that you're going to assist or help the people that they bring to you to assist and help in your prophetic manner, right? Number 3, they can also represent spirits that use Izuwasho name. So Izuwasho is the salts, the spiritual salts that are mainly used by prophets and whatnot. So it can also indicate that that is the manner in which you're going to help and heal people, right? So it could be that thing out with the information that you're getting from the ancestors about this person's problem. You're gonna be guided on which Izuwasho is best for this particular person, and that is where your strength is. Understand that matla, or the strength of each healer, is different. You can get Izuwasho from multiple people and find that it doesn't work for you because the one who has more strength in using Izuwasho is someone else as opposed to the others. So this is an ancestor that indicates that yes, our strength is with Izuwasho, and when you help people with this, they will actually find the healing that they need, right? Number 4, I'm really sleepy. Number 4, it's a water prophetic gift. So I spoke about different types of prophetic gifts already. So is Samanzi, it can represent what that is the prophetic gift it is. So at times, this particular dream of a yellow or white snake, or both, can actually indicate exactly the type of ancestor that is with you, who it is, what type of ancestor it is, and how this ancestor operates. Just seeing that snake alone can actually be them trying to show you exactly what's going on. I understand that dreams are complicated, so that's why I'm saying that when you go and check about your life, ask things in details, or even when you pray, when you partner, ask your ancestors in detail. Be specific about the knowledge that you want to receive. Don't just say, show me everything, because they will show you everything, and some of those things you might find that for you, they're not assisting you in terms of the knowledge that you want to receive from them in order to appease them in the way that they need to be appeased, right? Yeah. Number 5, it represents a feminine energy. So most of the times represents a feminine energy. Like I said, a feminine energy, it doesn't necessarily have to be gender, but in most cases a feminine energy is a grandmother, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that this grandmother was a prophet. You could find that this grandmother was also like any type of healer, or just a grandmother who lived and passed on but is working with you in the spirit, right? So it can also represent the presence of the female ancestors, the female ancestors, because remember, even with candles, the yellow candle represents the female spirits, the female ancestors as a whole. So the snake will also represent the female ancestors that are working with you in your life, right? Another point is that it represents ancestors responsible for financial state in your life, right? So with the green one, I talked about wealth and abundance, right? So that one, when we talk about abundance, we're just talking about things in general. Abundance in money, abundance in marriage, abundance in career. Abundance can be a lot of things, right? But with the yellow or white snake, it can represent financial abundance and stability. This is where, as you might find, that you have been praying for abundance or financial stability in your life, and you haven't been getting the confirmation. This dream can actually be a confirmation that from your ancestors that we heard what you are asking for, and we are coming to bring you exactly what it is that you want from us, right? And lastly, it's usually to reassure you that they are with you. The presence of the ancestors. Basically, dreaming about any snake, especially if you've appeased the ancestors or the snake is appearing to be very happy with you, it can represent that your ancestors are working with you. So a yellow snake represents that a lot more. Whereas when you dream of it, it is your ancestors saying, honey, you don't need to worry. We got you. We got your back. You need to calm down and understand that we are working overtime or in the background for you so you can have a prosperous life, basically, right? So yeah, moving on to the other snake that you may be dreaming about. Some people may be dreaming about a brown snake, right? So when you dream about a brown snake, it represents Bumkulu, the male ancestors, right? So this is whereas these male ancestors are the ancestors that are governing you. These are the ancestors that are giving you certain gifts. These are the male ancestors that are speaking to you and helping you in your prophetic or traditional spiritual journey, basically, right? So it represents the male ancestors, Vumkulu. Secondly, it also represents Ngakachupye. So there are people that have Ngakachupye, like I have a video about Ngakachupye if you guys want to learn more about it, but it is basically a sangoma or a healer or a spiritually gifted person that doesn't necessarily need to go to initiation, but rather the ancestors teach them the things that they need to teach them. They have vast knowledge of herbs, vast knowledge of healing and helping people, and they also see visions. So Moilongoro, when you go to Ngakachupya with problems, the person can see what herbs are best for you in terms of helping you with your particular problem. So the brown snake can also represent Ngakachupya, and it actually makes a lot of snake because brown is a color, it's a natural color, the color of dirt itself, right? And Ngakachupya, they use all natural resources that are there. These are the plants, these are the waters, this is even the soil itself, they use them. So it makes a lot of sense as to why the brown snake actually represents the Ngakachupyas. And another thing, it represents a strict spirit that leads and governs. So every single person has a leading ancestor. Every single person has a governing ancestor. You might find that you have 5 ancestors in total that are governing you, giving you different gifts, but there's always going to be one which is the leading ancestor. So sometimes when you're having dreams about a brown snake, it is whereas your leading ancestor is there with you, and this leading ancestor may be coming with messages, information, guidance, or just showing their presence to show you that, honey, we are working with you, so chill. Okay. Number 4, it represents Bungoma, mainly land sangomas. I don't know why I said land sangomas, but the reason why I said land sangomas is because Bungoma, it's bungaka, or a spiritual gift, a traditional gift. They differ, right? So some of them can be traditional gifts from the water, from the rivers. Others can be traditional gifts from the land, Bungun and whatnot. Whereas instead of using water, they will say use this instead, use soil, so like similar to Ngakachupes. So it represents the land sangomas, right? So this can be accompanied by dreaming of also certain wild animals, lions, leopards, cheetahs, whatever it is, the totem in your family. It can also be accompanied by this snake to actually represent that the ancestors that are with you are the land spirits, right? Number 5, it can come as an instruction to go twasa, right? So this is one that I feel like you guys need to be very certain about, but it can come as an indication that you have to go initiate. So for some people, that thing, not everyone is shown a kopela, even though personally I would say that ask your ancestors to show you your kopela. That way, whoever it is that you go to can appease or help you appease all your ancestors, right? But in some cases, it's an instruction that, you know what, we're not going to pick for you. Whoever you want, it's fine. Just go and do what you gotta do. We are done. We are desperate. We are just, okay, we are done with you, so just go. Basically, just go and initiate, right? And lastly, it can represent a gift from an ancestor to those who twasa under the water, right? So there are people that twasa in the water. That is something that we've also spoken about. We spoke about a lot of things, basically. You guys should thank me. I mean, I'm out here giving y'all information and everything. Okay, let me check. But yeah, it can also represent the ancestors that want you to twasa underwater, where it can represent that this ancestor is happy with you. Maybe you did go initiate underwater the way that they wanted, or you've done certain rituals that they've been asking you to do. So when you dream about this brown snake, it can indicate that these ancestors are completely happy with you. They are pleased with you, and they're like, honey, you deserve all the good things in life, you know? And lastly, which is actually my favorite type of snake. I'm afraid of snakes in person, but in dreams, like, this is actually my favorite type, basically, right? So this one is where you are having dreams about a silver snake or a golden snake, right? So with this snake, oftentimes you'd find that it is covered in crystals, diamonds, or gems. It is shiny, it is beautiful, it is majestic, name. And in other times you find that it's even very big, but not in all cases. But the main thing, or the most distinctive feature or appearance of it, is that it is shimmering with diamonds, gems, or crystals. even gold now and then, right? So this is a fancy type of snake. It is fancy. I'm just gonna say it like it is. It is fancy, basically, right? So this snake actually represents Inzunza from a royal bloodline. So not all Inzunza spirits are from a royal bloodline, but this one specifically, when you have a dream of it, it is coming from a royal bloodline, it is coming from a royal lineage. And this is where, as they are showing you, that your gift is not just any random gift, it is a royal gift, right? Number 3, it represents a spirit of wealth. This is also a spirit, like we've spoken about this spirit a lot, right? And in the video that I spoke about, I mentioned that when you have this gift, there is abundance, a lump sum of abundance that is given to you as a person from the spirit. So this snake actually represents, or rather confirms, the fact that there will be like a whole lot of abundance that you receive from this particular ancestors. Like I said, it is fancy. Okay. Number 4, it is a feminine spirit, right? It is a feminine spirit. Moilongo, this type of Inzunza is feminine. So most of the time, the black one represents the masculine energy, and this one represents the feminine energy. Ne? So you find that as much as this particular spirit in the video, I mentioned that it is very strict, very harsh, very dangerous when it is not happy. When it is happy, it can be very nurturing, and in the presence of a nurturing, of it representing itself in a nurturing, caring, happy manner, this is whereas it will come to you in the form of this white or golden snake, basically, right? Number 5, it can be a traditional or a prophetic type of Inzunza, right? So Inzunza, like I said, is different. It's the same as Mdawe. We have prophetic Mdawe and we have traditional Mdawe. Mdawe that co-works with a prophetic gift, whereas you prophesy with your Mdawe gift in a way, right? It's not the normal prophesying, but in a way, right? Intuitively so. But Lornak is the same thing with this particular like gift, right? When you see this snake, it can indicate that your gift can either be traditional, but in most cases it is a significant sign that your Inzunza gift, it is a prophetic one as opposed to a traditional one. It is you'll find that it's mainly in the prophetic one. And then the coolest thing about a prophetic type of Inzunza, at least from the people that I've encountered who have this gift, right, the thing about them which I actually like is that when they have it in a prophetic manner, these people basically, they see everything. They can even see your ancestors, your spiritual guides. They can see them like right on the spot, which is like pretty awesome if you ask me, right? So in a prophetic one, they actually, everything is just shown to them, like everything. And another thing that I also noted down, that it is a nurturing spirit. I did actually say that, often embodied in the characters of those who are governed by it. So you find that the people that are governed by it, as opposed to them, because I have mentioned in the last video about different types of prophetic gifts, that the royal bloodlines can be very stubborn, very hard-headed and whatnot. But with this one, is different, given the fact that it is so much of a feminine energy, and with feminine energy there comes nurturing, there comes caring, there comes so much compassion and passion from this energy. This spirit itself, with these people, it can also represent a spirit that is very nurturing, very caring, like I said earlier. And this is something that will be embodied in the person's character as well. This is someone who will be loving, who will be accommodating, who will be caring, someone who will be very giving to a point whereas it is a sin. Basically, honestly, from my point of view, there are two giving to a point where it's a sin, and there's someone who wants to help everyone, even though they know that they can't help everyone. So the character is embodied in the person's character and behavior itself, right? And lastly, it sometimes works hand in hand with Dambala Wedo. So some okay. So this is another type of water spirit. It is named different things in different tribes, but this is an Igbo term for it, Dambala Wedo. So Dambala Wedo is somewhat of I don't know if I should say he's a shapeshifter, but it's a masculine spirit. So most of the times when you dream about the snake, of the white or golden snake, you might also see another snake, which is like sort of like a python, a brown and black python basically. And sometimes you might even see the snake that is accompanying this one shedding its skin and turning into a human, right? So that is something I'm not going to dabble into too much, basically for a lot of reasons, but you might find that sometimes it is accompanied by this spirit of Dambala Wedo. And the reason why they go hand in hand with each other is because they are both very generous, very nurturing. These are both spirits of abundance, spirits of wealth, spirits of purity, man. Whereas when you have this type of gift, you are required to do good things. You are required to have a pure heart, because this spirit does not just go to anybody. If you have a cruel heart, then know for a fact that it will either turn your life upside down or just leave you, basically, because that is a spirit that requires positivity, pureness, a pure heart. So does this one that I just mentioned, that it works with it. So yeah, that is basically it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys understand more about dreaming about a snake, dreaming about snakes when it is associated with your spiritual gift. But anyways, you guys have a beautiful one. Tokozani. Bye bye.
I'm here yearning for other lives to come. I'm here yearning for other lives to come.